Hello, happy Friday again for anyone who was here 20 minutes ago when I started the first time. I don't know what happened. My computer just kicked me off and set me to my home screen, closing all my browser tabs, which I always have several open. So I came back, tried to close some browser tabs, and it had some weird problem because YouTube thought I was still streaming even though I was done. Technology. So today's just going to prove, or this week rather, is going to prove then that what could possibly be worse than butchering Leo Tolstoy's work by reading it aloud, having to do the same thing twice. And by the same thing, I mean having to butcher Leo Tolstoy's writing twice. And not like twice as in 2 days in a row, but I mean the same writing, the same segments twice. So bad jokes aside, we'll jump back in to War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Credit for translation by Richard Pevear and Larissa Volokhonsky. I guess I'll recap the recap, which is just that kind of getting into who the characters are. Prince Vasily, the reason he is helping Pierre, letting him stay with him, is they're actually kind of distantly related. Prince Vasily's wife is related to Pierre's dad, and Pierre's dad is getting old, wealthy, about to die, but Pierre's a bastard, so he may not be able to inherit, especially because he's one of many bastards that this guy had, evidently. So Prince Vasily is hoping to inherit Pierre's father's fortune, and Pierre is still trying to figure out his life. Meanwhile, he's getting in a lot of trouble, including him and Anatoly and Dolokhov, pretty much getting kicked out of Petersburg society for many things, but not limited to tying a policeman to a bear and throwing them both in the river. So yeah. And where we are right now, I'm going to read section 9, 10, and 11. They're all shorter sections today. And where those pick up is at the house of the Count and Countess, where they've been receiving guests all day because of the Countess and her younger daughter's name day celebration. So at this point, some of the kids have come running into the main drawing room where the guests are, and then have been childlike, cute children, and then some of them run back off, and some of them are still in there. And I believe the last of the guests are getting ready to go. So we're going to kind of pick up right back off there. You can, if this is your first time or you don't remember something, feel free to check out all of the past readings on my channel. They're under a War and Peace playlist, and they're all ordered and numbered, so you can kind of pick up in there. And the one I started earlier today has been deleted, so this is today's reading. So, and this is the last reading for the week, and then after today, I'll see you guys on Monday. So, happy Friday. Let's see where we go. Of the young people, not including the Countess's elder daughter, who was 4 years older than her sister and already behaved like an adult, and the young lady guest, only Nikolai and the niece Sonia remained in the drawing room. Sonia was a slender, diminutive brunette with a soft gaze shaded by long eyelashes and a thick black braid wound twice around her head. She's a brunette with black hair. Okay. She's also the niece of the Count. Okay. Thick black braid wound twice around her head, and a sallow tinge to the skin of her face, and especially of her bared, lean, but gracefully muscular arms and neck. In the smoothness of her movements, the softness and suppleness of her small limbs, and her somewhat sly and reserved manner, she resembled a pretty but not yet fully formed kitten, who would one day be a lovely little cat. She evidently considered it the proper thing to show by a smile her interest in the general conversation, but against her will, her eyes under their long, thick lashes kept looking with such passionate, girlish adoration at her cousin, who was leaving for the army, that her smile could not deceive anyone for a moment. And it was clear that the little cat crouched down only in order to leap up more energetically and play with her cousin as soon as they, like Boris and Natasha, could get out of this drawing room. Yes, ma chère, said the old Count, addressing the guest and pointing to his Nikolai. Here his friend Boris has just been made an officer, and out of friendship He doesn't want to lag behind. He's leaving both the university and his old father. He's going to the army, ma chère, and a post has already been prepared for him in the archives and all. Isn't that friendship? The Count said questioningly. Yes, they say war has been declared, said the guest. They've been saying it for a long time, said the Count. Again, they'll talk and leave it at that. Mon cher, that's friendship, he repeated. He's joining the hussars. The guest, not knowing what to say, shook her head. Not at all out of friendship, replied Nikolai, blushing and protesting as if it was a shameful calumny. It's not friendship. I simply feel a calling for military service. He shot a glance at his cousin and the young lady guest. They both looked at him with a smile of approval. Tonight Schubert will be dining with us, a colonel in the Pavlogradsky Hussar Regiment. He's been on leave here and is taking him along. What to do? Said the Count, shrugging his shoulders and speaking jokingly about a matter that obviously cost him much grief. I've already told you, Papa, said his son, that if you don't want to let me go, I'll stay. But I know I'm not good for anything but military service. I'm not a diplomat, not a functionary, and I'm unable to hide my feelings, and the young lady guessed. The little cat fixed her eyes on him. Bonaparte. Julie, Madame Kerrigan's daughter, turned to the young Rostov. What a pity you weren't at the Arkharovs on Thursday. I was bored without you, she said, smiling tenderly at him. The flattered young man, with the coquettish smile of youth, sat closer to her and got into a separate conversation with the smiling Julie. Oh, sorry, the Mademoiselle Kerrigan. No, I was right, dang it. Sorry. Right, this acronyms have got me flustered. The flattered young man, with the coquettish smile of youth, sat closer to her and got into a separate conversation with the smiling Julie, completely unaware that his involuntary smile cut the heart of the blushing and falsely smiling Sonia with the knife of jealousy. In the middle of the conversation, he turned to look at her. Sonia gave him a passionately angry look and, barely holding back the tears in her eyes, with a false smile on her lips, got up and left the room. All of Nikolai's animation vanished. He waited for the first lull in the conversation and, with an upset face, left the room to look for Sonia. How crystal clear all these young ones' secrets are, said Anna Mikhailovna, pointing to Nikolai as he left. Cousinage, dangereux voisinage, she added. Yes, said the Countess, with the ray of sunlight that had penetrated the room with the young Yes, said the Countess, when the ray of sunlight that had penetrated the room with the young generation vanished, and as if answering a question no one had asked her, but which constantly preoccupied her. So much suffering, so much anxiety endured so as to rejoice in them now. And now, too, there's really more fear than joy. One is afraid, always afraid. It's precisely the age when there are so many dangers both for girls and for boys. Everything depends on upbringing, said the guest. Yes, true for you, the Countess went on, but to now, thank God, I've been a friend to my children and have enjoyed their full trust, said the Countess, repeating the error of many parents who suppose that their children have no secrets from them. I know that I'll always be my daughter's first confidant, and that if Nikolenka, with his fiery character, gets up to some mischief, boys can't do without it, it still won't be the same as with these Petersburg gentlemen. Yes, nice children, agreed the Count, who always resolved all the tangled questions by finding everything nice. Just look at him. Decided to be a hussar. Well, what do you want, mon cher? What a sweet young creature your younger one is, said the guest. A ball of fire. Yes, a ball of fire, said the Count. She takes after me, and what a voice. Though she's my daughter, I'll tell you the truth. She'll be a singer, another Salomoni. We've hired an Italian to teach her. Isn't it too early? They say it harms the voice to study at that age. Oh, no, not too early at all, said the Count. How is it, then, that our mothers got married when they were only 12 or 13? She's already in love with Boris now. What a one, said the Countess, smiling quietly, looking at Boris's mother, and evidently responding to the thought that always preoccupied her. She went on. Well, so you see, if I were strict with her, if I forbade her, God knows what they'll do on the sly. The Countess meant they would be kissing. But now I know her every word. She'll come running to me herself in the evening and tell me everything. I may be spoiling her, but it really seems better. I was strict with the elder one. Yes, I was brought up quite differently, said the elder one, the beautiful Countess Vera, smiling. But the smile did not embellish Vera's face, as usually happens. On the contrary, her face became unnatural and therefore unpleasant. The elder one, Vera, was good-looking, far from stupid, an excellent student, well brought up, had a pleasant voice, and what she said was correct and appropriate, but strangely, everyone, both the guest and the Countess, turned to look at her as if wondering why she had said it, and they felt awkward. One is always too clever with the older children, wanting to do something extraordinary, said the guest. There is no use denying it, mon cher. The dear Countess was too clever with Vera, said the Count. Well, so what? She still turned out nice, he added, winking at Vera approvingly. The guests got up and left, promising to come for dinner. What manners! They sat and sat, said the Countess, after seeing the guests off. When Natasha left the drawing room and ran off, she ran no further than the conservatory. In that room she stopped, listening to the talk in the drawing room and waiting for Boris to come out. She was already growing impatient and stamping her little foot, was about to cry because he did not come at once, when she heard the neither slow nor quick but proper footsteps of the young man. Natasha quickly darted among the tubs of plants and hid herself. Boris stopped in the middle of the room, looked around, brushed some specks of dust off the sleeve of his uniform with his hand, and went up to a mirror, studying his handsome face. Natasha kept still, peeking from her ambush, waiting to see what he would do. He stood for some time before the mirror, smiled, and walked to the other door. Natasha was about to call him, but then changed her mind. Let him search, she said to herself. As soon as Boris left, the flushed Sonia came from the other door, whispering something spitefully through her tears. Natasha restrained her first impulse to rush out to her and remained in her ambush as if under the cap of invisibility, observing what went on in the world. She experienced a special new pleasure. Sonia was whispering something and kept looking back at the door of the drawing room. Nikolai came out of that door. Sonia, what's wrong? How can you? Said Nikolai, rushing to her. Never mind, leave me alone. Sonia burst into sobs. No, I know what it is. So you know, and that's wonderful, and so go to her. Sonia, one word, how can you torment me and yourself so because of a fantasy, said Nikolai, taking her hand. Sonia did not pull her hand away and stopped crying. Natasha, motionless and breathless, with shining eyes, watched from behind her ambush. What will happen now, she thought. Sonia, the whole world is no use to me. You alone are everything, said Nikolai. I'll prove it to you. I don't like it when you talk like that. Well, then I won't. Forgive me, Sonia. He drew her to him and kissed her. Ah, how nice, thought Natasha, and when Sonia and Nikolai left the room, she went out after them and called Boris. Boris, come here, she said with a significant and sly air. There's something I must tell you. Here, she said, and led him to the conservatory, to the place between the tubs where she had been hiding. Boris, smiling, followed her. What is this something? He asked. She became embarrassed, looked around, and seeing her doll abandoned in the tub, took it in her hands. Kiss the doll, she said. Boris looked into her animated face with attentive, gentle eyes and said nothing. You don't want to? Well, come here then, she said, and went deeper among the plants and dropped her doll. Closer, closer, she whispered. She caught the officer by the cuffs with both hands, and her flushed face showed solemnity and fear. And do you want to kiss me? She whispered, barely audibly, looking at him from under her eyebrows, smiling and almost weeping with excitement. Boris blushed. You are so funny, he said, bending down to her, blushing still more, but not undertaking anything, and waiting. She suddenly jumped onto a tub, becoming taller than he, embraced him with her thin bare arms, which bent higher than his neck, and tossing her hair back with a movement of the head, kissed him right on the lips. She slipped between the pots to the other side of the plants and stopped, her head lowered. Natasha, he said, you know I love you, but you're in love with me? Natasha interrupted. Yes, I am, but please, let's not do like just now. Another 4 years, then I'll ask for your hand. Natasha reflected. 13, 14, 15, 16, she said, counting on her thin little fingers. All right, so it's settled? And a smile of joy and reassurance lit up her animated face. Settled, said Boris. Forever, said the girl, till death? And taking him under the arm, with a happy face, she slowly walked beside him to the sitting room. Section 11. The Countess was so tired out from the visits that she ordered no one else to be received, and the porter was told simply to be sure to invite for dinner everyone who came by with congratulations. The Countess wanted to talk personally with her childhood friend, Princess Anna Mikhailovna, whom she had not seen properly since her return from Petersburg. Anna Mikhailovna, with her weepy and pleasant face, moved closer to the Countess's armchair. "I'll be perfectly frank with you," said Anna Mikhailovna. "There are a few of us old friends to get left. That's why I cherish your friendship so much." Anna Mikhailovna looked at Vera and stopped. The Countess pressed her friend's hand. "Vera," said the Countess, turning to her older daughter, obviously not her favorite, "how is it you have no notion of anything? Can't you feel that you're not needed here? Go to your sisters, or—" The beautiful Vera smiled disdainfully, apparently not feeling the slightest offense. "If you had told me long ago, Mamma, I would have left at once," she said, and went to her room. But passing through the sitting room, she noticed two couples sitting symmetrically by the two windows. She stopped and smiled disdainfully. Sonia was sitting close to Nikolai, who was writing out some verses for her, the first he had ever written. Boris and Natasha were sitting by the other window and fell silent when Vera came in. Sonia and Natasha looked at Vera with guilty and happy faces. It was amusing and touching to look at these enamored girls, but the sight of them evidently did not arouse any pleasant feelings in Vera. "How many times have I asked you not to take my things?" she said. "You have a room of your own." She took the inkstand from Nikolai. "Just a moment," he said, dipping his pen. "You managed to do everything at the wrong time," said Vera. "The way you came running into the drawing room just now, everyone was ashamed of you." In spite of, or precisely because of the fact that what she said was perfectly correct, no one answered her, and the four only exchanged glances with each other. She lingered in the room with the inkstand in her hand. "And what secrets can there be at your age between Natasha and Boris, and between you two? It's all silliness." "Well, what does it matter to you, Vera?" Natasha said, pleadingly in a quiet little voice. Clearly, that day, she was being kinder and more affectionate with everyone than ever. "Very silly," said Vera. "I'm ashamed of you. Why secrets?" "We all have our secrets. We don't bother you and Berg," Natasha said, flaring up. "Of course you don't," said Vera, "because there can never be anything bad in my actions. But I shall tell Mama how you behave with Boris." "Natalia Ilyinichna behaves very well with me," said Boris. "I can't complain," he said. "Stop it, Boris. You're such a diplomat." The word diplomat was much in vogue among children in that special sense they endowed it with. "It's even boring," Natasha said in an offended, trembling tone. "Why is she pestering me?" "You'll never understand it," she said, turning to Vera. You'll never understand it," she said, turning to Vera, "because you've never loved anyone. You have no heart. You're just a Madame de Genlis." This nickname, considered very offensive, had been given to Vera by Nikolai. "And your highest pleasure is to do unpleasant things to others. Go and flirt with Berg as much as you like," she said quickly. "I certainly won't go running after a young man in front of guests." "Well, she's done it," Nikolai mixed in. "She said unpleasant things to everybody and upset everybody. Let's go to the nursery." All four, like a frightened flock of birds, got up and left. "They said unpleasant things to me, but I said nothing to anybody," said Vera. Madame de Genlis, laughing voices said behind the door. The beautiful Vera, who had such an irritating, unpleasant effect on everybody, smiled, and apparently untouched by what had been said to her, went up to the mirror and straightened her scarf and hair. Looking at her beautiful face, she appeared to become even colder and calmer. In the drawing room, the conversation was still going on. "Ah, chérie," said the Countess, in my life, tout n'est pas rosé. Don't I see that du train qu'elle nous élance, our fortune won't last long. It's all his club and his kindness. Our life in the country, is that any respite? Theater, hunting, God knows what. Ah, why ask about me? Well, how did you arrange it all? I often marvel at you, Annette, how at your age you can gallop off in a carriage by yourself to Moscow, to Petersburg, to all the ministers, to all the nobility, and you know how to deal with them all. I marvel at it. Well, how did it get arranged? I don't know how to do any of it." "Ah, my dear heart," Princess Anna Mikhailovna replied, "God forbid that you ever learn how hard it is to be left a widow without support and with a son whom you love to distraction. One learns everything," she went on with a certain pride. "My lawsuit has taught me. If I need to see one of these trumps, I write a note. Princess Untel wishes to see so-and-so, and I go in person, in a hired cab, 2, even 3 times, even 4, until I get what I want. It's all the same to me what they think of me. Well, whom did you solicit for Borenka? Asked the Countess. Here's your son. Your son is an officer in the guards, and Nikolushka is going as a junker. There's no one to solicit. Who did you ask? Prince Vasily. He was very nice. He agreed at once to do everything and reported to the emperor, Princess Anna Mikhailovna said with rapture, forgetting entirely all about the humiliation she had gone through to achieve her goal. And what? Has he aged, Prince Vasily? Asked the Countess. I haven't seen him since our theater performance at the Rumyantsevs. And I suppose he's forgotten me. Il me fonçait la cour, the Countess remembered with a smile. He's the same as ever, replied Anna Mikhailovna, amiable, overflowing. Les grandioses ne lui ont pas donné la tête de tout. I'm sorry I can do so little for you, dear princess, he says to me. I'm yours to command. No, he's a nice man, an excellent family, but you know my love for my son, Nathalie. I don't know what I wouldn't do for his happiness. And my circumstances are so bad, Anna Mikhailovna went on sadly, lowering her voice, so bad that I'm now in a most terrible position. My wretched lawsuit eats up all I have and doesn't get anywhere. Can you imagine? I don't even have 10 kopecks à la lettre, and I don't know how I'll pay to acquit Boris. She took out a handkerchief and began to cry. I need 500 rubles, and all I have is one 25-ruble note. I'm in such a position. My only hope now rests with Count Kirill Alexandrovich Bezukov. If he doesn't care to support his godson, he's Borya's godfather, and lay out something for his maintenance, all my troubles will have been in vain. I won't have the money to equip him. The Countess also waxed tearful and silently pondered something. I often think, maybe it's sinful, said the princess, but I often think, here Count Kirill Vladimirovich Bezukov lives alone, this enormous fortune, and what does he live for? Life's a burden to him, and Borya is only beginning to live. He'll surely leave Boris something, said the Countess. God knows, chérie amie, these rich courtiers are such egotists, but even so I'll go to him now with Boris and tell him outright what it's about. Let them think whatever they like of me. It really makes no difference to me when my son's destiny depends on it. The princess got up. It's now 2:00, and you dine at 4. I have time to go. And with the air of a practical Petersburg lady who knows how to make use of her time, Anna Mikhailovna sent for her son and went out with him to the front hall. Goodbye, dear heart, she said to the Countess, who came to see her to the door. Wish me success, she added in a whisper, so that her son would not hear. Are you going to see Count Kirill Vladimirovich, ma chère? The Count asked from the dining room, also coming out to the front hall. If he's better, invite Pierre to dine with us. He used to come here, danced with the children. Invite him without fail, ma chère. Oh, we'll see how Taras distinguishes himself today. He says that Count Orlov has no such dinners as we're going to have. That is the end of section 11. And I think we'll stop it there for today, seeing as I read a little bit twice. Very interesting. The little intrigues of the children. Everybody has a crush on somebody. And as you may recall, just as by way of explanation, there was something I needed to perhaps expound upon. Oh, well, Anna Mikhailovna certainly stretched the truth about exactly how she got her way with Prince Vasily and how easy it was. It was a little more begging on her part than she kind of remembers, but that's all right. And interesting, the Countess and Princess titles and how they're all sort of interrelated. And Tolstoy seems to want to use everybody's full name. And I'm also not sure in Russian society if everybody has like a first name, middle name, last name, because sometimes they refer to people just by like a first and last. Sometimes they refer to it by the whole thing. And I wonder if that was entirely common. And then also, as you can see, like you know, cute like nicknames of like Boris versus Boryanka or Nikolai versus Nikolushka or something. So definitely some little variations in the name, but it's kind of crazy how he seems to have to write down everyone's like full name every time. Anna Mikhailovna. And then Anna Mikhailovna said to blah, 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 and then she said Anna Mikhailovna said to. Yeah, so, anyways, I ramble on. It's a Friday. I hope everyone has a chance to have a breath of fresh air, enjoy whatever you can in the day, and have a great weekend. See you guys back here on Monday at 3 o'clock. Hopefully we won't have any tech trouble and be going and done quite promptly. So thanks again and happy Friday, everyone. Have a great weekend.